What's up guys, how are you guys doing? In this video I'll be talking to you guys about all about partners, okay, and which partner you guys should be putting on each character. Okay, I think when it comes to partner, it should be pretty obvious on with most of the partners where they go and stuff like that. But when it comes to like partners like from the battle pass and stuff like that, those can be used in multiple characters. So if you guys just do a quick guide video going over each partners and telling us where you guys can put them potentially. Okay, of course, welcome to 2026, right? The new year started, and I think I just do a quick video on this and a guide type of video. I think by now you guys probably know most of the stuff, but for newer players maybe it will help them, right? Of course, if you look at my partner, for example, right, I am fortunate enough to get some of the best partners in my opinion. Of course, I have specific ones like Zeta, who's for Calipe, and I do have Calipe as well, right? So I did get super lucky when it comes to this. Or someone like Erika, who's Magna specific partner, right? And of course I have Nyx from the battle pass, right? And I have pretty much all the banner partners that were out so far, right? During 2025, right? So I am fortunate enough to get some of the best partners, but I think I just show you guys which partners you guys maybe if you guys have them, maybe where you guys should be putting them and stuff like that, right? So if you go to partners, there's so many partners in this game, right? And of course, when it comes to the base versions ones, they are very easy to understand where they go because they are very specific to one character, right? Of course, we got some of them like the battle pass one, like Solia, right? Or Echelon, right? Nyx, right? These are all battle pass ones, and they can be used in multiple characters, right? And of course, we also have Tina and lastly Persilia, right? Persilia. Each of them can be used in multiple characters, but when it comes to the non-battle pass ones, like someone like this, they are somewhat specific to a character. Okay, so if we start with the base ones, so Janet, of course you guys already know, Janet is meant for look. Okay, so everything she does, right, all the stuff she provides is look specific, specially, right? Or anyone that works off of bullets and stuff like that, right? For example, right, 9% crit chance of the assign combatant attack card costing 1 or less, right, which is what Luke does, right? And then when the assign combatant uses 5 bullet cards, create random handgun bullets, right, very specific to Luke, and increase damage amount of the created cards by 50%, right? So you guys can already tell where she will be going, right? So Janet is of course Luke specific, as you guys know, and her active is of course by the way, the art look amazing. Says 150 damage to all enemies, right? Increase damage amount of designated combatant bullet by 20%, right? As you can see, bullet, right? Very specific to Luke. And if you look at Luke, right, he have multiple one cost cards, as you guys can see, and he also works off of hunting and bullets right here, right? For example, if we look at this finish around skill, 204 damage after using 5 hunting and bullet cards times, right? Removed unstable, right? Remove unusable, right? Of course, you can only use this card once you have used at least 500 gun bullets, but you guys can improve this using a funny and stuff like that. So right? So by that knowledge, right, she's very specific, right? 100 gun bullets, which is Luke terms, right? So someone like Janet is very specific to Luke, or someone like Zeta, right, who's specific to Calipe, because again, the defense based damage of assigned combatant instinct, right, which Calipe is instinct type, right? Card is increased by 15%, and the assigned combatant defense based damage and shield amount for the Celestial card becomes 25%, right? And then her active is 200% defense based damage, draw one highest cost card, right? And if you look at Calipe, for example, right, she does have a very high costing card that is really strong, right? So again, this is one of her base cards right here, right? 200% shield and 1 times the damage to all enemies, right? And she also have another one, which is this right here, right? Vulture eject, which is one of her base freaking skill, because it gives us this silver veil stuff right here. When silver veil is 400% defense based damage to all enemies, upon activating, remove silver veil, right? So and this thing is 3 cost. So what Zeta does is, as you can see, right, from reading what she does right here, says the active, right? Draw one highest cost card, right? So yeah, this is very Zeta specific, right? I mean Calliope specific as well, right? So yeah, and if we look at somebody like Bria, right? She's Charon specific, as you guys already know, right? When the Ascent component generates a card, attack card damage is increased by 10% for one turn, stacks up to 3 times, and when the Ascent component creates a status element card for the first time, includes cards that have been changed from status element card, plus 25 damage amount to the attack card, right? Which Charon does, right? He does have Agni debuffs and stuff like that on his card, and yeah, this pretty much just buffs all of his kit, right? And the activation is exhaust all status element cards, including those changed from status element and curse card in the discard pile, and increase damage amount of the designated combatant attack cards by 10% for each exhausted cards. This is amazing effect for Charon because he does exhaust a lot of his cards, right? If we look at Charon, for example, right? So let's find Charon real quick. By the way, I am very lucky to have all of these cards, man. Yeah, there's a lot of cards I need to build, but yeah, I pretty much have all of them, right? So if you look at, like, for example, this right here, he does this futility, right? And he exhausts his cards a lot as well, right? When he uses this card, moves to the exhaust pile as well. And as you can see, if we look at his futility cards, right, 80% damage, heals 80%, and they have exhaust on it, which buffs, right? And he also applies Agni, if I'm not mistaken. Not Agni, I mean his futility cards right here, right? They have status element tag on them, which means Bree skill affects them, right? Of course, he exhausts these cards to do like a nuke damage, right? So if you look at Bree, for example, right, she buffs most of those stuff, right? As you can see, right? Exhaust all status element cards, which all of Charon's futility cards already have, right? That tag, the status element tag, right? So she will be able to exhaust all of them and buff his damage pretty much, right? So yeah, again, right, you guys can't tell. Yeah, most of these are specific ones are very easy to tell where they go and stuff like that, but I figure I'll still go over each of them, right? And then we have Kiara, who's of course if there are 10 or more cards in the graveyard, the same combatant's attack and damage is increased by 15%. And the other effect is when a card is discarded for the first time by the assigned combatant each turn, plus 25 damage amount to the attack card for 1 turn. And if you guys can't tell already, this is of course Renoa partner, right? Because Renoa discards most of her cards to do a nuke damage, right? To do a follow-up damage as well, right? So this pretty much buffs your damage whenever you discard cards, right? And the activation is 200% damage, right? And then plus 20% damage by the number of cards in the graveyard, right? When you discard cards, they go in the graveyard, and pretty much this buffs those by massive amount, right? And if you look at Renoa, for example, right, she's a hunter class, right? She discards a lot of her cards, right? And look at this, right? She does damage based on how many Dirge Blades in hand she have, right? Which are Dirge Blades have these guys right here, and she also does damage based on this right here, right? 1 under 80% damage. If Dirge Blades is in hand, discard 1 and 100% damage amount. So if you have, like, let's say 9 of these Dirge Blades, she discard all of them and she does crazy amount of damage, right? Because that's a lot of Dirge Blades she discarded, which means she gonna be doing a lot more damage, right? So yeah, whenever she discard cards, she does massive damage. As you can see, another card, right? 150% damage, and discard all Dirge Blades plus 70% damage for each, right? Again, right, by discarding her Dirge Blades, she buffs her damage. She also does more damage, right? So yeah, this pretty much just buffs what she does, and yeah, perfect for her, right? So yeah, another one is of course we have Scarlet, which is for Rin, right? If you guys don't know, if a card used immediately before was from the assigned combatant, plus 15% attack card damage, stacks up to 2 times, right? And is removed if another combatant card is used, right? When the assigned combatant uses 2 or more cards, they gain focus, which is a new mechanic, and the focus pretty much buffs your attack card damage of the assigned combatant is increased by 20%, right? And then on effect activation, right, decrease focus by 1 and removes focus when another combatant card is used. Of course, for Scarlet to be, to maximize the potential of this partner, you definitely want to use specific cards multiple times without using somebody else's card, because when you use somebody else's card, you pretty much lose out on the damage boost, right? Because right here, right, remove focus when another combatant card is used. So you guys do not want to use another combatant cards but you just want to use Rin cards, and which, if you guys know Rin, she works off by using multiple cards of herself to do a really good damage, right? Because again, if she don't use those cards, and if somebody else uses a card in between her attacks, she pretty much loses out on her stances, which pretty much cuts her damage a lot, right? So you guys definitely don't want to use a different card while Rin is on the turn, right? Because again, because her damage pretty much gets lowered, right? And the activation is 250% damage plus 10% assigned combatant attack card damage amount for each on buff for 1 turn, right? Of course, this is amazing right here. And if I'm not mistaken, if we look at Rin, for example, she's a striker, right? Let's look at Rin, right? Of course, Rin, you guys already know how she works, right? By keeping up her stances right here, her dark mist stances, she pretty much does a lot more damage, right? Because when she has the stances, she gets effects like increased damage amount by 50%, or she gets like effects like this, right? When you are in the mist stance, plus 1 hit per skill card in hand, max 5 times, right? Or another effect like this, right? If you are in the dark mist stance, you get plus 30% damage amount to the attack card of this unit for 1 turn, right? Yeah, she pretty much buffs her whole kit by keeping up that stance, right? Which is why you guys don't want to use somebody else's card in between her attacks, because otherwise she's gonna lose the stance, right? As you guys see, right? That dark mist stance enables the dark mist stance effect for Rin cards when used an attack card of another component or remove dark mist stance, right? That's exactly why you guys don't want to use somebody else's card before you guys are done with her, right? So, which means she will most likely gonna be using her cards back to back, right? Which the partner, right, the Scarlet, pretty much buffs, right? She buffs by giving her the focus stuff, right? Attack card damage of the assigned combatant is increased by 20% on effect activation, right? Decrease focus by 1, right? And she also, used immediately before was the assigned combatant, right? If a card used immediately before was from the assigned combatant, she gets the plus 15 damage as well, right? So yeah, Scarlet, you guys are counted, right? That's for Rin. And then we have somebody like Marianne, who's pretty much for Melee, because again she buffs extra attacks, right? And she also gives you she also buffs basic attacks, as you can see, right? Increased damage amount of the assigned combatant when when attacking ravage enemies by 50%, which works great with melee kit, because melee also does extra damage when the enemy is in ravage state, right? And the assigned combatant basic cards always apply as weak points damage and plus 5 weak damage, right? Weakness damage, which is absolutely amazing. This pretty much complements melee kit, right? And then the activation is just pure damage, right? 350% damage, right? So insane card right here. And yeah, that damage buff is absolutely disgusting, by the way, right? It's not I'm pretty sure that damage boost is going straight to melee, not to attack the enemy. I'm not sure, because it usually states so. If you look at somebody like this, right? Not this one actually. Yeah, actually never mind. Yeah, this pretty much the activation does 350% damage to the enemy, right? It's not 350% damage to melee. That would be kind of crazy if that's the case, right? But yeah, still amazing card. And again, if you look at melee, you guys know how melee works, right? By utilizing her strike cards right here, but not these ones specifically. You guys want to use these ones right here, the zero cost versions, right? Because yeah, right here, right, the draw 2 basic cards of this unit, decrease cost of those cards by 1 for 1 turn, right? Which means these guys right here, the strike cards, they're gonna go from 1 cost to 0 cost, right, whenever you use this skill. So yeah, by utilizing that, she pretty much buffs her cards, right? But of course, for her to be functional at her max level, you guys gonna need this Epiphany. This Epiphany is a must, because for 1 turn, each passion card used, 1 extra hit, right? So the more cards of herself she uses, or an ally who's like fire type, the more damage she's gonna add to this. And yeah, she pretty much just nukes, right? So yeah, pretty much. But until you stack this thing up, right, her main damage source will be her strike cards, right? Which the partner buffs, right? Which is amazing, right? Yeah, this partner buffs, right? Yeah, the same combatant basic cards always apply as weak points damage and 5% weak damage, right? Right, very good, right? Another one is, of course, we got Tina, right? Which is from the get-go says order attribute extra attack damage increased by 15. That should tell you everything you guys need to know. This is of course for Hugo, and Hugo, his entire kit is by doing follow-up damage that are also considered as extra attacks, right? So her buffing, especially since it's order specific, which Hugo is on order typing, right? I think probably Tina is probably the one I want the most when it comes to partners, because yeah, this thing is just broken, right? Yeah, order attribute extra attack damage increased by 15% and plus 25% extra attack damage from the targeting attack cards, right? Which is crazy, right? And then the activation, draw 1, increase the combat's extra attack damage by 30% for 1 turn, right? Absolutely disgusting. And you guys already know how Hugo works, right? Hugo pretty much works off of his whole hunt commit stacks, right? Right here, let me just show you guys. You use this card, it's an upgrade skill, and whenever when an upgrade or skill card of another combatant is used, one hunt commence, right? And what hunt commence does, commence the hunt does, is when using a target attack cards, inflict 50% extra attack on the target, reduce commence the hunt by 1, increase extra attack damage per commence the hunt stacks by 30, and the shit stacks up to 5 stacks, right? So yeah, that's his whole kit pretty much. You guys want to spam this, and pretty much, you know, whenever this character uses an upgrade skill or a skill card, he pretty much just follows up with his commence the hunt stacks and does a follow-up attack, right? Which are extra attacks, right? And this pretty much just buffs all that, right? So amazing stuff, right? Of course, you guys already know waste my code. Very easy, right? Of course, this is of course for Yuki, right? You guys, she was on right up. You guys already know this, so I'm not gonna go over this. But again, right, Yuki specific as she is concerned, right? And then we have another one who's Asteria, and this is of course Haru specific, right? This card is Haru specific because it says the assigned combatant attack card with the cost of 2 or more deals plus 25% damage, right? Increase damage amount of pulverized cards of the assigned combatant by 10%. Yeah, this is very obvious, right? That's definitely is meant for Haru, because again, she literally have a card called pulverized attack, right? Pulverized card, right? So yeah, amazing. And the activation is plus 20% damage of the next attack card used by the assigned combatant for total cost of all cards in the hand, max 10%. That is disgusting buff, by the way, guys. This thing is absolutely broken, okay? Of course, if you look at Haru, right, she have her main better braid and better skill right here, which is the hunker shot, right? You pretty much just spam this to do insane amount of damage, and it does have the pulverized tag on it, right? And it's a 2 cost, which specifically the partner buffs, right? As you can see, right? Right here, see, cost of 2 or more deals plus 25% damage, right? So yeah, that's obvious. Of course, I'm not gonna go over this. You guys already know how that works, right? Of course, we have another one right here, which is for Chizuru, right? Increase the assigned combatant attack by 8% each time the assigned combatant card stacks. Increase damage amount of the attack card by 5%. Can stack up to 3 times, right? Every time one attack card used by the assigned combatant deals 3 hits, inflict 30% fixed damage to the target, right? Absolutely broken, and the activation is really good. It gives you the fierce wind as well, which is, you know, a damage boosting ability right there. Of course, when the whole thing with that partner is to work with this right here, right? This effect right here, right? Let me just show you guys. Yeah, right here, right? 97% damage plus 2, recover 8% of max HP plus 20% damage amount for each bind stacks, right? And you get the bind stack by using multi-hit attacks and stuff like that, right? And of course, if you have this Epiphany right here, right? Not even Epiphany, just the base card, it will add a hit to this, right? Hit to the moon card right here. You guys already seen my build video for Chizuru, and you also use this to stack a bunch of hit count on it, right? By using this Epiphany right here, add 2 hits to the next Shadow of the Moon and Shadow of the Moon plus cards, right? Yeah, so you stack extra hit on that, right, until this thing is used, and then once you have the max possible stacks, you use this to just nuke, right, to do a big nuke damage right here, and that pretty much buffs the stacking mechanics, right? Because again, as you can see, increase the assigned combatant attack by 8% each time the assigned combatant card stacks, right? Right, in order to get this buff, you need the card need to stack, pretty much, right? So yeah, another one is Marine, right? She's of course the standard version partner, right? And of course, this is for Veronica, which is you know, our another ranger type character, right? The extra attack damage of a card generated by the assign combatant ability increased by 15%. This pretty much buffs her entire ballista cards, right? Because her ballista cards are similar to Hugo, where they do damage at the end of the turn, so they are considered as extra attacks, right? And then when a skill card is used for the first time by the assigned combatant each turn, plus 25% damage amount to the extra attack for one turn, right? Again, buffing the extra attack capability of Veronica, right? Amazing, right? And the activation is, of course, 200% damage to all enemies. Draw one skill card, right? Very simple. I like it, right? Amazing stuff. Of course, lastly, we have this chick, Noel, which is for Orlia, if you guys can't tell, right? Right here. Increased damage, shield, right? Increased damage, shield again, and heal amount of the assigned combatant retain cards by 15%, which is what Orlia does all the time, right? She retains a bunch of her cards. She also buffs, she also shields, she also heals, right? So pretty much is buffing everything she has, right? And at the end of the turn, deal fixed damage to all enemies equal to 15% for each retained cards of the assigned combatant, plus 5% damage for the enemy with the instinct attribute, right? Again, instinct attribute. Orlia is also instinct type, right? And then the activation is heal 100%, right? And activate the retain effect of all cards held by the assigned combatant, right? That is absolutely disgusting ability for Orlia, in my opinion, because yeah, activating all of her retain cards is crazy, guys, right? So yeah, obviously it's for Orlia, right? And then we have somebody like Erika, who is for Magna. Just by reading the first sentence, you guys can't tell, right? The assigned combatant counter attack damage increased by 15%, which Magna does, right? Magna have a lot of counter attacks, and yeah, this pretty much buffs her in counter capability, right? And when the assigned combatant uses a skill or upgrade cards, there is a 50% chance to gain counter attack, right? Amazing, right? Just complementing her kit in general, right? And then crackdown beam bombardment, right, which is her activation. 200% defense-based damage to all enemies, one counter attack if any enemy's anticipated action is attack, one counter attack, right? Again, just adding more counter attack for Magna, right? And I'm so happy I got this partner because I also have Magna as well, right? Of course, if you look at Magna, as you can see right here, right? She does have a lot of counter, right? She stacks up a bunch of counters, right? Counter attack applies to all enemies, and she does have AoE counter attack, which is amazing, right? Same thing, right? More counter attack right here. She also have another counter attack right here, right? And she also have one counter attack right here. She also have another counter attack. Yeah, she works by countering, right? Pretty much. And yeah, amazing partner for Magna, and this is Magna specific, right? And of course we got the newest one, which is for Serenia. You guys already know how this works, right? Increase the assigned combatant attack by 8% when the assigned combatant card moved from the graveyard to hand, gain one repair complete, right? And repair complete is a new buff that pretty much increases gives you 10% damage amount to the assigned combatant attack cards max 3 stacks. That's up to 30%, right? Which is very good. And increased damage amount of the assigned combat attack cards that are used against Ravage target by 15%. And then with the activation when on ally, inflict Ravage 1 overclock to the assigned combatant. And you guys already know what overclock does. It gives her 25% crit chance, right? So yeah, amazing. Serena whole kit is she moves the laser cards, right? I forgot their names, but there's yeah, right here. Not this one. She's on a hunter class, right? Yeah, these guys right here, right? She pretty much just spams these guys to pretty much do the most amount of damage, right? So yeah, homing lasers, you move them to hand, you pretty much just, you know, move them to hand, move them to graveyard, move them from the exhaust pile, and you put them on hand and you use them again and recycle, rinse and repeat, right, with her kit, right? Because even her ultimate moves all homing laser L in exhaust pile to hand, right? Which are these guys, right? The homing laser ones. And yeah, right, just she works off of by moving a bunch of her homing laser cards, right? To do the most damage, right? Of course, you can create more of them here, and then another one, right? You could also create more homing laser here, but of course, people we usually just remove these guys, the basic cards, because we don't need them. But they have a 50% chance to create homing laser cards as well, right? And this has the L version, which pretty much buffs the ultimate, because again, the ultimate only moves the L versions specifically, right? They don't move these guys right here. But again, right? Pretty simple stuff, right? So yeah, again, you guys already know this is a recent addition to the game, and yeah, amazing partner for her. But now the main ones are these guys right here. Of course, the Battle Pass ones. The best one in my opinion is Nyx. Nyx is absolutely broken. She could be used with any controller characters, and pretty much what she does is increase the assigned combatant health and heal amount by 8%. And controllers are all the healers and shielders and support cards, right? And when the assigned combatant draws for the first time each turn using an ability, 8% damage dealt by allies for 1 turn, right? That is crazy, right? That's an AoE damage boost every time you draw a new card, right? Which is crazy, right? Every time you get 8% damage boost. Absolutely broken, right? And this activation, one of the best activation right here. Discard up to 3 cards, then draw +1 cards equal to the number of discards. So what this means is you pretty much just, if you have a terrible hand, right, you could discard up to 3 cards, but then when you draw 3 cards, because it lets you draw the same amount, it will also give you +1 additional. So you'll be able, you discard 3, but you can draw 4 cards, which is absolutely broken, guys. Okay, yeah, this is absolutely broken partner. But if you look at somebody like Antea, she could be used with any psionic type, but I think the best use for Antea is probably with Teresa, because Teresa is amazing with her, right? Because the assigned combat HP and damage are increased by 8% when a card is created for the first time, but the assigned combatant each turn 8% damage amount to the attacker for 1 turn, right? That is amazing, right? And you know, Teresa, she could create a bunch of shadow daggers, right? Yeah, right here, right? She could create a bunch of these guys, right? And that partner pretty much just buffs her damage, which is amazing, right? Of course, you could also use Keron because he also creates difficulty cards. So again, anyone that can create who is psionic type works with that partner, right? So this is why I say the Battle Pass ones are, you know, you can use them with multiple cards, right? Compared to these ones who are like more specific to the character, right? More specific to like one character, right? But yeah, this is absolutely broken for any psionic type character that creates a lot of cards, right? But I think the best one, probably the best use for her, for Anita, is probably with Teresa, and of course Keron, if you guys don't have his own partner right here, which is Bria, right? But yeah, amazing partner right here, right? And then we got Echelon. Echelon, she is more specific when it comes to you know, Vanguard type characters, because the assigned combatant health and shield gain are increased by 8%, which is generalized, right? That you could use that with multiple tank cards, right? But the difference is when the assigned combatant gain counter attack for the first time, 15% defense based damage amount, right? That is what makes it different, because she excuse me, she works the best with counter attack characters like Magna, like Marbolt and stuff like that, right? Because if you have counter attack already up, you're gonna get that 15% defense based damage amount, right? And the activation, of course, a shield activation, right? By the way, this art is amazing. And then at the end of the turn, retain 50% of the shield, right? So yeah, very simple activation, but this, she works the best with counter character, but you guys can use it with multiple tank characters, right? But of course, Magna does have one of the best ones right here when it comes to countering, right? Which is Erika, right? But if you guys don't have Erika, you guys can absolutely use this with Magna. I think Magna is probably the best one to use with this. You could also put this on Marble. She also have counter, so you know, it works differently, right? And then we have somebody like Sertia, right? This one is amazing, right? Because this is for any hunter character, but I think she works best with like somebody like Renoa, because increased critical chance of the combatant attack card is increased by 8%, right? Which is amazing, right? And when the assigned combatant attack results in a critical hit, plus 3% critical damage stack up to 5 times, and then she applies for 2 vulnerable with the 250% damage to the enemy, right? So this is very good for Renoa in my opinion, but you guys can absolutely use this with Luke as well, because he likes a bunch of critical chances as well. So yeah, you can absolutely use this with Luke, but for Luke, if you guys have this, definitely this is the best one for him, right? But Renoa is more flexible than Luke, but yeah, that crit buff is absolutely amazing, right? For any hunter character, right? Hunter character, right? I think this could also work with like somebody like Serenial, because it gives her a crit chance, right? Which is pretty, you know, crit chance is always good, right? And this thing stacks up, which is insane, right? When the assigned combating attack results in critical hit, right? Plus 3% critical damage stack up to 5 times, which is amazing, right? So yeah, I mean, one of the best partner you guys can get from the Battle Pass, right? And then we got somebody like Solia, which is she primarily buffs extra attacks. So someone like Veronica, right? Someone like Hugo who do follow-up attack and also extra attack, right? That would. Renoa also does have similar thing like that, but of course she can't use this because Renoa is Hunter class and this is for Ranger class, which Hugo and Veronica are Ranger class, right? But what does is 20% extra attack damage of that same combatant when that same combatant draws for the first time, each time using an ability, right? Which is amazing. Yeah, plus 10% attack card damage for 1 turn, right? And I think this is probably based with Veronica because Veronica draws a lot of cards, right? When it comes to Hugo usually works off of his upgrade cards, which do not require drawing a bunch of cards, right? And it also gives a mark. So I think this is probably the best one with Veronica, but you guys can absolutely use this with Hugo to get that extra attack damage, right? Of course, there are 4 stack cards you guys can use with that as well, right? Someone like Selena also works great with her because, again, Selena likes having marks, right? She generates a lot of marks as well, right? If you look at like her thing, right? 40% mark damage, as you guys can see, right? She also have another one right here. Attunement 1 mark to random enemies, right? Mark pretty much just buffs your damage to break parts, right? When using attack cards, 100% extra attack, tenacity damage equal to cost 0 decrease mark by 1, right? So yeah, of course, her ultimate also generates 4 marks and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to utilize Selena, then this is also another one of the best partners you guys can use with Selena because it gives a mark stack right there, right? So yeah, but of course you guys can also use this with somebody like Veronica, like I said, right? And lastly, I think the one we have is I'll say this one, right? Priscilla, right? She's not the best one in my opinion when it comes to compare to like the other battle pass character, the battle pass like partners, but this is also another really strong one. That same combatant HP and damage are increased by 8%, which is amazing, and then 25% damage dealt by the same combatant to target and ravage state, right? So this is very specific to ravage state. So again, you guys can use this on somebody like Melin, because Melin also likes having the enemies broken, right? She she like doing damage to ravage enemy because it boosts her damage. So this is also another one you guys can put with Melin if you guys don't have any other options, right? But I think Melin you guys can get a really good 4-star partner for her, which is this one right here, right? That same combatant attack card with cost of 1 or less deals 10% damage, and when that same combatant uses a skill card, 10% attack card damage for 1 turn stack up to 3 times, right? That's amazing. And then its activation is very strong because it says, especially for Melin, this is very good, right? Deal 100% damage to all enemies and then draw 1 attack card from the assigned combatant with cost of less than or equal to 1, right? So yeah, you guys can use this, absolutely use this with Melin, but if you guys can't afford to get this, probably one of the best one you guys can put on Melin because again, having that 25% damage boost on ravage enemy is very good, right? And then for the activation, deal 250% damage, apply weakness attack to 1 assigned combatant, random attack card is down, right? Yeah, so of course the activation is not that good, but this is very good for her, right? But yeah, those are all the partners. If you guys just go through and give you guys an idea on where and who you guys can put them on them, who you guys can put them on, right? But yeah, let me know what you think about this, and let me know which partner you guys are using on each of your characters. And yeah, anyways, that is it for the video, man. Thank you for watching and see you guys on the next video, and bye bye.